is Dom from Soundsphere and Gimme A Hull Yeah here. Just had a great chat with Adam Flex, Maxted, talked about Love Island, talked about mental health, staying fit during lockdown, and a bunch of other stuff, dream feuds for AEW, WWE, just a real cool conversation about the British wrestling community. So I'm really glad we could do that, catch Adam sort of just chilling out. And yeah, it was a nice one to do. I'm dead proud of it. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you again really soon. Take it easy. What are you using for motivation at the minute? Obviously, outside of wrestling, what kind of stuff are you doing to keep yourself going? Obviously, going to the gym is a big thing for you.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of cycling stuff as well, actually, which
Nice.
I didn't actually like cycle that much before, but it's kind of just been cool to get out of the house and just go on these like long, like hour and a half
Yeah,
cycles.
man.
And obviously it's good cardio and stuff as well, but it's just good for the mind just to get out and kind of get in the fresh air instead of just being cooped up in the house all the time. And I've been speaking to a few people, like trying to encourage them, just to get out and try and change up your routine as much as you can so it doesn't like get monotonous and get boring every day, or else you are going to start kind of bringing yourself down and you are going to get in your own head and stuff. So I just think getting out as much as possible and exercise, like for me, my escape
Yeah.
is it's just exercise, and working out is my escape. It's my time to just kind of distract my mind from stuff and things.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, and that's the cool thing about what you've been able to do. You've obviously got your gym stuff and your work ethic. We work with a lot of young people who obviously struggle for motivation, mental health issues, and stuff. Would you say that exercise is a really big thing for people at the minute? Obviously, you've been advising a few people. You're saying in lockdown, but ways to keep yourself going, keep yourself motivated. Give us some sort of tips. 2 or 3 tips from yourself to like motivate.
Well, I mean, again, the big one for me is just to think about like the future. Like this isn't, touch wood,
Mhm.
going to last forever. So the fact that you've got so much time on your hands now is a perfect opportunity to start getting stuff set in motion for whenever like we all get the green light to go back to normal life. Like have goals, have like a plan of action.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're like living normal life, it can get just all on top of you, and you don't really have, because you're in your routine and you don't really have the time to try and take time to plan for like goals or stuff that you want to do to like motivate you and stuff. So the fact that we've all have so much time on our hands now, it's like use that time wisely and try and be productive and get a plan of action. Like as soon as wrestling schools open up again, like I'm going to be straight back in there just to, because I'm sure footwork and ring position and stuff's going to be, although it's only been like 2 months, like it'll be,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's pretty amazing it'll probably be, there'll be some ring rust there, even though it's only been like 8 weeks or 9 weeks. But just
100%, man.
just have a goal and like get, write it down and put it on your fridge, and every time you're opening the fridge for that junk food, which everyone I'm sure is eating more of recently, it'll just remind you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Do you have any particular goal on your fridge? That's quite a nice one. I quite like that. But do you have any like mantras or anything on your fridge that you look
um
for?
I just kind of write stuff down on my phone
Nice.
during the day. Like if I, again, like when I'm, on my bike and stuff, cycling and things, and stuff will come into my head. And then when I get back, I'll just like make little notes on my phone, and then I can I'll post them on my Instagram story and stuff, or Twitter, just my thoughts and things. And like I just want to kind of like through my own journey, like in the wrestling business, and obviously trying to make it and, trying to become successful. I want to try and like motivate and inspire people as well. And like, even if I, can inspire a couple of people to take a chance on themselves or believe in themselves, or, outside of wrestling, whatever it is in life, their goal, like if my journey can inspire someone, then, that's a great thing as well.
Absolutely, man, and that's really interesting because obviously on Instagram you do get a lot of positive feedback on your motivations and your work ethic and stuff like we said, and obviously you have achieved a lot of success as a wrestler as well as an entertainer. What does success mean to you? Because again, young people, for example, their definition of success can be skewed because they'll be like, they'll look at Adam, they'll look at yourself, sorry, and they'll be like, oh, who's been on Love Island? Oh, he's a wrestler. He's performed all over the country. And they kind of go, oh, I'll never get there. You know what I mean? So I think success can be different to different people, and it can be
Sure.
skewed. So what does success mean to you?
I think like what I've learned is that success is like being truly happy in yourself and like your mind, and not kind of being motivated by money and stuff. And obviously my goal in wrestling is like to become like a big star for one of the biggest companies in the world. Like I always say, like if you're starting out and you're in wrestling and you're not trying to push yourself to have a big goal, like if you want to just wrestle at the weekends and you just enjoy it, that's fine. But for me, it's like I put my all into this, which is like why I did the TV show and stuff, to try and get my name out there. It was a risk. It might not have paid off, but luckily for me, and like how hard I've worked on my work ethic and stuff, I've kind of started, especially in the last year or so, started changing people's opinions of me from like being like just a reality TV star to kind of like, well, look, this guy's like 3 years and still wrestling, and he's, he's starting to improve and he's starting to make waves and stuff. So success for me is just being happy like in myself, and just knowing that each day and like, as the weeks go by, that I'm working as hard as I can and not getting complacent. And the fact that I've, again, apart from like NXT UK, anything kind of big happening in wrestling in the UK over the past couple of years, I've been a part of. And I don't think it is just because I was a TV guy. Like, yeah, people will use that because it's kind of cool to get viewers and because Love Island's such a big show in the UK. But I think they also see that I'm just a motivated guy. And like I said, I just hope my journey can like motivate and inspire other people. But yeah, just like not being motivated by materialistic things because like they can be gone.
100%.
Just focusing on like just being truly happy. Like I think this whole lockdown's really exposed like mental health and how people that you think are okay, like there's a lot of people that aren't okay. A lot of people that try and portray on social media, for example, that life's good and everything, they're loving life and they're real happy, but behind closed doors they're probably not that person.
Yeah.
So just trying to be happy in yourself and your own skin. And that's why like social media, I mean, I usually don't reply to comments and stuff, but I kind of just, the other night I just replied to this guy, and I mean, I don't even know the name, but so obviously the stuff happened in Japan with that young Japanese wrestler,
Yeah. Yeah.
and obviously devastating. And it was kind of like everyone was just posting during the day, like, let's be more positive, cyberbullying, be careful what you say. And then I sit down to watch the AEW, and within the first match, it's just people again, like, two friends of mine, and yeah, they are my friends, Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian.
Of course.
And it's like negative comments straight away, like with swear words saying how terrible they are. And I kind of just took them up, like, so everyone's entitled to their opinion. I have my opinion. I choose just not to air it publicly on social media because it's just my opinion. Like, it's not a fact, so it doesn't really mean anything. It's just what I think. But because social media gives us the opportunity to now post and comment our opinions, everyone seems that they want to do it. So if you want to post a positive opinion about someone, that is great. But if you're going to post a negative comment about someone, at least have like some constructive criticism as to how or why that person can improve in whatever area or whatever their specific field is in life or whatever they're trying to do. Like, to just come on and like have swear words and say that people are terrible at what they do, when for a matter of fact they're signed to like one of the biggest companies in the world, so they're clearly not doing that bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just think it's so narrow-minded. And like, again, just if you don't like someone's work in the ring, or you don't think, if you don't enjoy watching them, there's surely a better way that you can, if you really feel again that you have to post your opinion. Again, I just don't get why. Like, surely just, it just baffles my head. Like, if because we're in the wrestling business, if you're that big a fan of wrestling, why is everyone so happy to just constantly go out of their way to put it down? Do you know what I mean? Like, the thing that we're all supposed to love and stuff, and now we're not able to do, and people aren't able to go watch. And instead of just sitting down and enjoying a show and being like, how lucky are we that because we, for example, WWE and AEW could have been able to be like, okay, well, we can't do any shows at all, and we'd have all been sitting here for weeks with no wrestling. Mm-hmm. So we should appreciate that and be thinking positive of that. But again, the population of the world, they just want to get on and get their opinion over and be negative. And it just baffles me that people think their opinion matters so much when it doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it's because you're in the public eye? Because obviously, again, you've achieved a lot, and obviously, Jimmy and Kip are doing very well as UK wrestlers in the US, along with countless others. And do you think it's perception of success? Again, it's down to success, isn't it? Because you've achieved something and other people haven't. Do you think there's a lot of jealousy there and a little bit of negativity that's what it breeds?
Yeah, I think. I mean, it can come across like that, but if these comments weren't directed at me, I kind of just saw they were directed towards Jimmy and Kip, and I was like, they're two guys that I know are talented, so I'm not going to just. I mean, and again, especially after everyone was preaching about how be kind and blah blah blah, and then the guy had the cheek to write, this comment wasn't aimed at anyone, and I just replied with, well, you've literally just named two wrestlers in it, so yeah, it was. Yeah. For example, like Kip and Jimmy, we don't know what's going on in their personal life. We don't know what sort of day they were having. Sure, someone might mess up in a match. Yeah, they're going to be feeling terrible in themselves, knowing that they made that mistake. You don't need to then go on your social media and see thousands of people like just like exposing it for you, like making you feel even worse about it. And it's just the way the world is. And I honestly don't think it'll ever change until like a law maybe comes in, or the fact that you have to maybe put ID up to sort of verify your account. I just don't think it's ever going to change because people are, that depressed, or they feel that negatively about themselves or their own lives, that they have to try and make themselves feel better by putting other people down. And that's just, it's just a sad world that we live in. It's just unfortunate that, social media is given, social media has so many positive things, but it also has a lot of negatives. And it kind of seems to be Twitter at the moment, that it's just so toxic is the word people are using.
Yeah.
And I've even found myself just going a bit less, because you just see negativity all the time. And again, opinions that are not facts. And yeah, sure, people are entitled to it, but just think what you're going to say before you hit that tweet. Like literally read it back and think, is this tweet really going to do anything like positively? And if it's not, then it's probably just not worth saying it or tweeting it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's really good tips there, I think, for people with social media, because obviously it can be used as such a great tool. Talking about that and the sort of positivity, more positive sort of elements of the British wrestling community. I spoke to Nathan Cruz the other week, and he was complimentary, and obviously you're complimentary towards Jimmy and Kip. How do you feel about the state of the British wrestling community? Not necessarily on Twitter, but in general, what is the mood like? Obviously, with those guys in AEW, with obviously some other friends in WWE, with you having done World of Sport and having your own brand. How do you feel about the community at the moment and the place that it's in, excusing social media and people's opinions?
The atmosphere has been great. The last show that I was part of was the No Fans show on the stream live on Wrestle Talk on YouTube.
Yeah.
And honestly, the atmosphere backstage was, for a show that we knew there was going to be no fans at, everyone was actually kind of nervous, even though there was going to be no crowd, because everyone wanted to do that well, because we knew, again, the potential of how many people might have been watching online and stuff. But it was a real, everyone came together that night and really went out to try and make, a show as good as possible for the people watching on YouTube. And any locker room that I'm a part of, or that I've been in, especially in the UK, like coming in from reality TV, everyone's been welcome to me and open and welcome me in with open arms. And I always feel a good vibe in the locker room, and just like a brotherhood, between the wrestlers and stuff, and the women as well. Everyone. I can't think of a time where I've been in a locker room where it's been like a negative vibe, or people being on eggshells around anyone. So I think that is a testament to how just the passion and love for what we do.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And I think, obviously going back to, how you've developed as a performer through wrestling. What did Love Island teach you in that time in entertainment and on television? What did it teach you about your character work? Because obviously you were able to develop this quite cool character in World of Sport that people got behind, love or hate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so how did your time in reality TV sort of help your character work when you were doing, World of Sport and beyond?
So again, if I'm honest, like when I went on Love Island, I wasn't really like my true self, if I'm honest, because I knew there was cameras and I knew there was people watching, and I did go in with the goal of like using it as a platform for my wrestling career. So if I'd have gone in and like was sleeping with girls on TV and like swearing and things, I knew that was going to be a detriment to like my future career, because again, if someone YouTube my name and saw videos of me doing sort of stuff, that stuff's up there for life technically, you know what I mean? So I kind of, when people really get to know me and like the wrestling world, or they're on the road with me, like I actually am very like quick-witted and have charisma. And, I see wrestling fans are like, oh, that Maxted guy, he's quite boring really. He's just a body guy that hits drop kicks and stuff. But, I feel like I am starting to become more comfortable in my own skin and kind of starting to believe in myself a lot more. I feel like I've had a lot to prove, like, and I still do. Like every time I step in the ring, there are fans in the UK, for example, that still haven't seen me live. So to a lot of them, I am still just a Love Island guy. So I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself to try and, even if it's one person in the crowd that might literally just think that I'm just that Love Island guy, it's an opportunity for me to show that, I do have like talent, I do have potential, and I am working hard to get better. But, so to answer the question about like Love Island, I didn't really learn much about TV and stuff, or, I learned that a lot of stuff's put together, and, not everything you see on TV is real, or, do you know what I mean? But I can't say that I was my true self on TV, because I always in the back of my mind was like thinking, okay, be careful what you say here, or be careful how you react to this, because it could like affect your future and stuff. So it's definitely when, hopefully for wrestling people and like, and promos and stuff in the future. And, if I do go on to wrestle for a big company and stuff where you're given more opportunities to do promos and things and show more of your charisma, personality, that's when like the true Adam Maxted and stuff will come out and be shown. But I know it's in here, and my friends in wrestling know it's in there, but it just didn't really come out in the Love Island series, because I was kind of thinking I was in there for a different goal. It wasn't to be like a reality TV star, it was to use it as a platform to get my name out there for wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What is it that brings out that character in you before you go through the curtain? Like do you have any rituals or anything that kind of inspire you?
I'm, before I go out, I kind of quite weird. I like take myself to somewhere quiet, kind of, and I just get in my own head and kind of just get in the zone and like obviously do some push-ups and things and like get pumped up and start, getting in the zone and getting the blood flowing. But it's just as soon as it's just something happens, like as soon as you walk through that curtain, it's like a switch flicks and I'm able to just switch it on and go into that sort of different place. People know me behind the curtain and they know me as a guy and they know me as a nice guy. But when I go out there and I want to be that cocky, arrogant kind of, Miz kind of
Yeah.
reality TV character, it comes quite easy. And that's why, I do a lot of wrestling at Butlins where I'm kind of like the big Sting baby face where there's kids and families and they want to see me smiling. They want to see, the adrenaline and the aggression. And, I love doing that. And it's just cool that I get the option to then, when I wrestle in front of like an adult crowd or an over 18 crowd to then be like completely different and just be that cocky, like arrogant, sort of full of myself guy. So it's kind of cool because I'm kind of learning both sides instead of just being like good at one sort of style of wrestling, like either being a heel or a face. It's kind of cool that I'm getting to learn kind of the blend of both. So,
Absolutely, man. No, it seems like you've had such a diverse career, which is awesome. In terms of the challenges that you face, because obviously, again, people look at you a certain way because you're able to have a career as a wrestler. What are the biggest challenges you face at the moment in terms of building your reputation? Obviously, you have a great social media following, for better or worse, and you've been able to build a good profile. What would you say the biggest challenges you face are?
Yeah, like there's a perfect example. So like my social media following to a lot of people, they'll go on and be like, whoa, like you've got loads of followers. But to be honest, they're probably like 14, 15, 16-year-old girls that don't care about wrestling, which, is my passion and is what I want to be known for. And kind of like proud that, when I left that TV show, I stuck true to myself. I didn't try and like stay in the public eye for reality TV and stuff. I've gone down thousands of followers. I've lost thousands of followers on both my platforms because all I'm doing is posting wrestling pictures or all I'm doing is posting dropkick pictures. And to a lot of people that watch me on the TV show, like it's kind of narrow-minded to them. They're almost like, oh, well, we don't care about that. That the fact that you're chasing your dream or that you're doing what you want to do in life, like, so unfollow. And, again, each to their own. If that's boring to them, that's cool. But I'll always be true to myself. And I kind of don't want to try and be somebody that I'm not just because I want to keep a social media following. Do you know what I mean? Because again, it's just a number of followers. Yeah, it's cool. It just seems that people want to be like Instagram famous these days, instead of like, chasing a goal or a dream or, but again, it's just social media. It's just the world we live in, but each to their own. If that's what makes someone happy, being like Instagram famous, then, who am I to, like, if they're happy, that's cool. I'm happy doing my thing, but it's just kind of not sad because it doesn't really bother me, but it's just kind of funny that like I've lost literally like 30,000-40,000 followers just because I'm like choosing to pursue my dream instead of, whereas I thought that would have kind of maybe motivated or inspired some people, to be like, well, look at this guy, he was on TV and now he said he wanted to be a wrestler and now look at him, like he is a full-time wrestler and he's making progress. This is a cool journey to follow. But they just take the approach of, oh, he doesn't really do anything exciting that I can relate to anymore, so he's not making me laugh kind of like he did on the TV show, so I'll just unfollow him. But that's just the way it is. And again, I'm not going to change to please people that I probably in life I'm never going to meet anyway. So, why would I change who I am? So
absolutely, man. That's again a real positive message. 2 or 3 more questions now, man.
Of course.
I think one thing would be really cool to ask you about is you talked about AEW and stuff, and some of your friends there, and maybe somebody in world of sport that you've wrestled in the past. What would be a couple of dream feuds for your future post lockdown? Post lockdown plans. Have you got anyone on your bucket list that you want to face?
I always get asked these. So like for me, my dream opponent in wrestling would be Randy Orton.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm like a huge Randy Orton fan, and I just kind of, not that I do all his moves, but I kind of emulate a lot of. I just think Randy Orton, especially like during his younger days. I mean, what a prick and what a guy to study if you want to come across. Because again, I kind of like I'm not a bad looking guy and decent physique and stuff, so I can kind of relate to that sort of like the early Orton. But in the UK, like I wrestle, Nathan Cruz and Lucas Steele quite a lot, and those guys are both fantastic. But I would like to wrestle Rampage a lot more. I think he's like one of the best in the world, not even just in Europe. Everyone says like how good he is, and he should be on one of these big stages. Absolutely. In AEW, Brian Cage would be pretty cool because he's just come in. A bit of muscle against muscle. It's kind of cool that they've brought in kind of. Hopefully they'll bring in a few more heavyweights and stuff because the roster is kind of I think it just needs a few more, big guys in there.
Mm-hmm.
But in the UK scene, there's just so much talent. And in Ireland as well. I think people were worried, when NXT UK came in, for example, that was going to be like the death of the UK scene because they'd taken all like the best talent. But I think the fact that just before this whole lockdown, there were still shows happening like pretty much every night of the week. Liverpool TNT were doing stuff, Fight Nation came back, they were doing stuff on Wednesday nights. The fact that there is still so much free and available talent out there is fantastic, and so many training schools as well that are producing great talent, like up in Scotland and Liverpool, Fighting Spirit, the Northeast, back in Ireland. So I think the British wrestling scene is in good hands, and it'll definitely bounce back from this once it's able to.
Yeah, man, it's definitely an exciting time. One thing I did wanted to ask you as well. I spoke to Nick Aldis about this the other day because obviously he has a really cool appearance. He's always dressed in like he's got like custom suits and stuff. And we talked about the appearance and the aesthetic and how important that is in wrestling. Obviously, you're known for your appearance and all that kind of stuff. But it's not all you are, and we've talked about that. And obviously, you're concerned with mental health and everything like that as well. How important to you is your image and the aesthetic of what Adam Maxted is and the flex gimmick? How important do you think appearance is in wrestling in 2020?
So I think it's your appearance is very important, but I'm not like naive enough to think that like you have got to be a body guy anymore. Like the business has changed. I understand that. Like it's not all about being like over 6 foot and absolutely jacked like it was like in the Attitude Era and stuff, and like in the 90s when you had like the Steiners and Lex Luger and stuff like that. But just for me personally, I just always prided myself on like looking like a wrestler. Like I wanted to, when I walk through the curtain, turn heads. Like people, like again, not being like arrogant or anything, but when I leave the gym, for example, and I've got a good pump on, like people turn their head in the street because I guess I don't look just like the normal person. Like I have a decent physique, so people are kind of like, oh, they'll do a double take of like, who's that guy? Like he's, there's a guy in shape, just like I would when I'm walking down the street. If I see a guy that's in great shape, like I take a second to be like, that guy's in shape, and I think that can relay over to wrestling as well. Like when I walk through the curtain, I want people to go, if they haven't seen me, like, who's that guy? Or if I do walk through the curtain, they're like, yep, there's Adam Maxted. He looks like a star. He looks like, like money. And that just, that kind of, I started going to the gym when I was like 17 or 18. So, being in shape was just always in my head and in my lifestyle. My mom's a personal trainer and stuff as well. So I've always been
amazing.
surrounded by the fitness industry. But the fact that when I first started training, I kind of just felt that, if I can look the part as well, even though while I'm still learning and stuff, at least then, people will take me seriously because, building a physique and going to the gym and being consistent and being dedicated, takes a lot of hard work and commitment. And just like wrestling training does, you don't just get thrown on a show, within a couple of weeks of training. You've got to show people and your trainers that you're committed. Some people get thrown on shows, but, if it's what you truly want to do, it's going to take time and it's going to take years to get better and to develop and keep improving. So, the gym is very similar, and it's taught me, just like that in wrestling, that stuff takes time and you've got to be patient and be motivated. And yeah, I just pride myself on like looking like an action figure. And, when I walk out of Butlins, the kids are like, oh, and I see the reactions and stuff. And it's cool. And, Alex Shane will be watching from like the back of the room and he'll be like, your teeth are gleaming and you just look like this big action figure when you come out. And so I just take a lot of pride in that. But I also know that it's not like the be and end all anymore. Like it's not like, okay, well, if you don't look a certain, like if you don't look like a bodybuilder, you don't look like you're in incredible shape, you're not going to get signed, because there's a lot of incredible wrestlers that have phenomenal talent that are currently wrestling for the biggest companies in the world that, yeah, they look, they're athletic and they're fit, obviously, because to be in a wrestling ring and to wrestle is extremely taxing on the body, but they just, they don't have to look like, like bodybuilders and stuff. And it's just the era that we're living in now,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
But just for me personally, I just like to look the way I look.
Yeah, no, it's good, and I think that moves on, because I think we've talked a lot about perception and aesthetic today, and I think that it'd be cool to ask you about we've talked about exercise and how that's important to you, which is great too, and keeping motivated and
Sure.
fit, healthy. But what about stuff that motivates you when you're having a bad day? You know what I mean? Because obviously social media paints you in a certain light. Obviously, people see you when you go on the camera or when you're out of that curtain, and they'll see you in a certain light. But what is it that motivates you? Sort of people, places, music, anything like that. When you're having a bad day, because that stuff doesn't always get talked about. So just tell me, if you're struggling, you're having a bad day or whatever. What is it? Music, people, places, that really sort of bring you up?
Like it brings me back kind of.
Yeah.
Like again, to be honest, I can't really say like I have really bad days, because I always try and like be a positive person and like
Of course.
try and see the positive in things. Like, yeah, there's some days that I'm maybe in a better mood than others, but like for me, again, people might find this boring, but going to the gym is like my thing, because it just really, for me, it just releases like positive endorphins in my body. I feel good when I'm lifting weights. I can, if someone's annoyed me, or I'm feeling like annoyed about, or aggressive about someone,
Yeah.
I can go deadlift, I can go squat, I can go put weight on my back, and I know that if I don't have the energy or the strength or the determination to get that weight back up, then it's going to crumble me. So it's kind of like the gym is my thing. But I think just if I'm having a bad day, it's like take a step back and like just be grateful for where I am. Like I'm 3.5 years, 4 years into my wrestling career, and like things are going well. I've got a roof over my head. I might not have much money at the moment because of everything that's going on, and I'm not able to wrestle. But again, I'm like, well, I'm in a more fortunate position than other people in the world. So I kind of think just taking a second to like, yeah, you can like put the blame on people or situations, or you can think like, why me? Why is this happening to me? But I kind of think just take a second and kind of, there's probably someone in a more worse off position than you are. So kind of just try and see the positives that you do have in your life. If you're frustrated with how your career is going and stuff, again, like I say, use this time now, for example, to think, okay, I wasn't really getting anywhere before with my wrestling, or I'd hit a plateau and stuff was going stale. So how are you going to bounce back from this whenever you are able to? Like, what are you going to do? Because no one's going to do it for you. No one can do it for you. You've got to do it for yourself, and it's got to come from your head, and you've got to have the motivation and the determination to do it yourself. Because like most sports or like most businesses, it's a dog eat dog world, and everyone wants to take the spot, or everyone wants to be successful, everyone wants to make money, everyone wants to be known for. So if you're not actively putting a plan in motion to go out of your way to be like, okay, here, this wasn't working before, I've got to change it up, here's how I can possibly change it up. If that means seeking advice from other people that have been successful, then you do that. You got to reach out to people. But sitting at home and being negative and thinking, oh well, this hasn't happened, so it's never going to happen, is it's again, it comes down to attitude as well. And like I always tell like young wrestlers and stuff, when you first get in, yeah, it's going to be a tough journey, so you've got to have the right attitude, because it's going to take time. And so like I said, I don't really have like really bad days, but when I do, I kind of just take a step back and think, well, think of, look where I was 3 years ago when I really didn't have a goal or a dream in life. I kind of really I was just working in Marbella as a nightclub. I was just, farting about in Marbella, and then I found my passion and what I wanted to do. And within like 3 or 4 years, it's my full-time job. Or it was, but no, we'll see. But and just appreciating and just being grateful for what you have. Because like I say, there's always people out there that are struggling more than you, and just give back when you can, and just know that tough times don't last, tough people do, as they say.
I like that. Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for the motivation today, Adam. I really appreciate it. Obviously, what can you tell me about post-lockdown? Anything you want to promote, anything you want to plug that you're doing at the minute, or post-lockdown that you want people to know about?
Post-lockdown, like hopefully, just going to be back to wrestling full time and stuff. Probably going to start like a YouTube channel, maybe showing like the comeback, kind of the bounce back of
Nice.
Not wrestling, and then sort of the journey towards hopefully my wrestling journey, and hopefully becoming a star in a big company one day. And I think it's kind of a lot of people don't see kind of the inside of how tough it is being a wrestler, like an independent wrestler and stuff. So it'd be cool to kind of track that on YouTube and stuff, so people can see it does take a lot of hard work and dedication and time, and just dying to get back in a proper gym and train properly again, and just get back in the ring. And because I felt like I was building some good momentum before kind of lockdown happened, and now it's all been on hold. But it's kind of cool, everyone's in the same position. So again, that's another thing. If you're sitting there thinking, oh, there's wrestlers who were doing really good and I wasn't, well, we're all on lockdown. Like no one's kind of progressing or getting better while you're sat at home during this. We're all in the same position. So again, it's up to you when you can, again, just to bounce back and be ready to go, and use the time you have now to prepare. And that's
Absolutely.
what I'm doing as well. I'm getting ready to go again,
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, dude, I'm so excited for you, and thank you so much for your time today, mate. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime, dude. Thank you.